Hey everybody, welcome to the Chan's Logic People Project, where we talk about people, the things they do, the pathways they go along the way, and how they've evolved to be the people they are today. Today I have Stuart Brauer on with me. He's a certified champion and a grade A hustler. Introduce yourself, Stuart. Stu?
What's up, guys? Thank you so much first off for having me on and giving me the attention of your listeners. This is awesome. My name's Stuart. I'll be 33 this December. I'm located here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've owned a brick and mortar fitness building, location, company, whatever you want to call it, since 2010. Got into the industry about 15 years ago, and that's been it. It's really the only thing I've ever done is the fitness industry related things. That's what I went to school for. That's what I started doing even before that when I was in high school. And that's kind of evolved into the career and the trajectory that's put me in Charlotte, North Carolina today.
That's exciting. So what'd you do in high school and what got you into it?
So the anecdotal story I tell everybody, just to kind of paint the picture in a comical way, is that I went to an all-boys high school. I played sports. I played lacrosse. And in Cleveland, Ohio, you go to all-boys schools because you have the best chance of winning state championships. You're going to be on the best team because you've automatically cut out 50% of the demographic. You've got a better chance of recruiting more guys that can help you win. So I went to school there, which is great. You don't have to give a fuck how you look. Like, you can just, roll out of bed. You weren't ever trying to impress girls. It was great to focus on sports and school. But when you're 145 pounds soaking wet and you weigh, 145 pounds, you weigh 145 pounds soaking wet, and you're, then on the weekends trying to meet girls or get a date to prom and all, it just was a tough gig. And especially in this masculine kind of all boys school thing, you wanted to be strong. You wanted to, I played lacrosse, right? I wanted to be able to take face-offs, and there wasn't a chance in hell because I just didn't weigh enough. I would have gotten knocked over. So I lived in the weight room. Disciplinary-wise, I wasn't always the best kid. And so I would get detention a lot, and detention frequently involved cleaning areas of the premises, the school, that were really, really gross and dirty. The men's wrestling room, the weight room, that kind of stuff. And that was kind of one of the forays into that. Spending a ton of time in the weight room. Oh yeah, I'll go check in to clean that. And I was actually down there for 3 hours working out. And that kind of, it was my initial exposure to fitness. That just kind of came into a self, like most guys do when they're 17, 16, 15, they want big biceps and chest. You want to get laid. And so you start improving your physical stature. And that took me down a world of, reading everything from Kilgore to Ripito to Arnold to super training to, everything I could get my hands on. I was very nerdy in that aspect. And so I went to school for exercise physiology. That's one of the degrees I got in undergrad. And I was lucky enough to, during an internship with the NSCA through a sports performance facility, I found CrossFit in 05, 06. And then that kind of took me down that rabbit hole.
Nice. That sounds exciting. You got the old jacked and tan route. Like, I need to get jacked. I need to get tan.
Definitely not tan. I'm an Irish Mick through and through. My skin is, my wife, it's fucking translucent is what it is. We had the hurricane just come through here in Charlotte. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Don't fucking worry about it. We're not allergic to water. We're allergic to sunlight. So as long as the sun doesn't come out, I'll be good." But yeah, no, it was a thing with fitness in the very beginning where it was obviously very vanity based. But then I've always was really into the deeper understanding of it. I wanted to know methodology. I wanted to know who the forefathers were. Exercise science is one of the youngest studied sciences out there. So there isn't a ton. But yeah, that's just kind of what kind of catapulted me into the industry initially.
I like it. So, quick question. How long can you be exposed in the sun before you start melting?
It depends on where it is. If it's Cleveland, Ohio, we have a lot of fucking ozone problems. We have a ton of clouds too. So it's that deceiving sun where the clouds are out, I'll be good. And I'm out there for an hour and I come back and it's fucking, I look like a sloppy lobster. But yeah, so I would put a good bake time on me of around 60 to 90 minutes.
I like it. Solid bake time. So I think one of the most interesting things is you kind of grew into fitness, built into fitness, became knowledgeable about everything relating to fitness, exercise science, and kinesiology, and then kind of found CrossFit, which was CrossFit the thing that segued you into opening a gym or building a business around this kind of stuff?
It was. I've always been. If you ask my wife I'm the guy that all my buddies are like, hey, we're gonna go out to the bar. Where are we gonna go? And I'm generally like coming up with a plan. I've very much been a ringleader. I've always been. I've always liked telling people what to do. I've liked always having an idea, thinking my idea was the best idea out there, and then getting people to do my idea. I was the guy that would convince people to do things they normally wouldn't do. I was. I was, selling fake report cards when I was in high school. I would steal the letterhead from the college and I would make mock fake report cards and I would sell them to kids to switch in and out of their mailboxes before their parents got home, so they wouldn't be grounded before like the winter formal or prom or whatever it was. And now again, it wasn't a long-term solution because the parents would get the real report card eventually, but it fixed it. And I was able to sell these, make 20, 40, 80 bucks depending on the, the seriousness of the situation. So I was always very kind of self-starterish in that sense. When I found CrossFit, I was the only person talking about it in the university I went to at the time, which is in the middle of fucking nowhere, Ohio. And it was cool because I was the guy telling everyone about it. It put me kind of in that ringleader role. And I really liked that. And, we go back in time, the athletic director, the head football coach, I was the douchebag that I had a PVC pipe and I had my headphones on. Right, these aren't cool AirPods 2018. These are like literally these are behind the ear earphones. Like, you see again all the OG guys. Chris Spieler used to wear when he worked out, like when he would compete in those old photos, like those kind of things I would wear, like most people did in 2006, 7, 8, the weight room, and I'd never have music in it. But I'd sit there and I'd work on a snatch and my clean and jerk and all this, and I would just get made fun of. Like everyone was making fun of me for doing a kipping pull-up. Like everyone, like I was a laughing stock. And my athletic director was a really nice guy, wrote me recommendations for my grad school program, which I bailed on. Really nice guy, but he's like, you're a fucking moron. This thing that you've been talking about is never gonna work. My buddies, they were all like, you're going to open a thing and people are going to pay to this. You're a fucking moron. So like that kind of ringleader role where I got to educate people on it and talk to people and convince people to do it, that just fit me really, really well.
I like it. It sounds like the road to entrepreneurship. You start off figuring out what can I sell? Well, I'll sell report cards because these kids need it. They need to not be in pain temporarily, and I'll fix their need.
Yeah.
And then you end up in the black sheep role. So now, and I remember this in CrossFit in the beginning too. It's you're doing a thruster. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Or what is that thing? Is that where you just flop around and like bounce against the wall with a nipple tank on? Well,
yeah.
No, not really, kind of.
Yeah. You know what it was, and so it was cool because in 06. 07 when you found it again, it gave you something like you felt, again, I understand this, you felt underground when you felt like you owned something, right? I think that's how a lot of gym owners like their initial members feel. So many gym owners, and you probably hear this a ton too, Chandler, that have a hard time changing policies, prices, schedules, coach it, whatever. They have a hard time changing things in their gym because their OG members, their initial members are going to be the most upset because they feel like they have some ownership on this thing because they were there when nobody else knew what it is. And there is a human phenomenon when you have found something that everyone else detests or doesn't know, you carry the flag and you make the battle cry and then people follow. You feel like this is mine. I helped build this. And again, it's different in an economic standpoint with a business and customers and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of what I think a lot of us did when we found CrossFit on early on. We felt like we had some ownership in it because we were shareholders. We had invested money in a level one in the days when not many people were doing it. I would drive to Rogue Fitness, the original Rogue Fitness in Columbus, Ohio. This is before Graham Holmberg. This is before all that, when it was a 2,700 square foot gym. And, on the other side of the wall, they were kind of making some barbells and fucking with some stuff. They would have events on Saturdays. I would go down there. We would do a workout, something ridiculously stupid, and then we'd go tailgate for Ohio State games. And they had this 2.5 truck that they would take down to do Fight Gone Bad outside of Ohio State tailgates. And, being an Ohio State guy, we'd go down there and then we'd work out, then we'd get fucked up and we'd have a great time. But it was mine. Like, it was this cool club. And I understand where members fall into that now. Like, I used to not have any tolerance for it, but you look back on it, it's like, I thought I was a part of that cool club too.
Yeah, exactly. I remember those days. We'd go do our workout post on CrossFit.com and get to know all the people on there. And it was the coolest thing in the world. You'd post videos of yourself doing handstands around the world. And
100%.
People would ask, you'd like take your shirt off and start beating your chest and be like, let me tell you about CrossFit. like in that video, but it was legit back then, because you felt like we have this culture of common experience built around what we're doing, and this is my culture. I dove into this. I was here first.
Yep. And again, like anything else, everything that is, the nonconformist is just conforming to nonconformity, and eventually everything comes full circle. And eventually, again, things that are underground never stay underground.
Yeah, absolutely. They eventually become mainstream, and underground makes them cool. It's like the hipster concept, but then eventually it becomes mainstream, and something else needs to become the underground.
Yeah, I think it's also that, and it just, again, it's you see subsets of the stuff pop off, and Jim Jones was one of those guys. Like I remember even in 2006, like studying Jim Jones and knowing what that relationship was to CrossFit and all that, and they always still remained underground. Like even today, I mean, I don't know how big they are today. I don't have any data on their business or anything like that, but I still look at that as a very kind of undergroundish kind of version. I think it's still an invite-only scenario, and but yeah, I mean, there's still subsets of it that I'm sure are going to remain underground and very cultish in that front, and which I think is great. But yeah, that was one of the initial things that really drew me to it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. And you do see that the subgroups, you've got Jim Jones doing their thing. You've got even the starting strength guys, they're very in their own element and their own unit, and they have their own subculture that was essentially created out of the SME aspect in the CrossFit world.
Yeah.
Even though they'll never admit it, that's kind of how it all started. And then they maintain their ability to be who they are by being their own subculture.
Yes.
So talk to me about when did you open your first gym, and what did it look like?
So my first brick and mortar was 2011. Prior to that, I was operating. I got into early on, like in CrossFit, like 2006. I was like, oh, CrossFit's great, and then I went and worked for a local affiliate owner who gave me a shot as I was like one of his head coaches, and I just realized that no one in the CrossFit space knew what the hell they were doing business wise. And I looked around. I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna go. I never took a business class in my life. I'm gonna go work for the guys who know business, which was Gold's Gym, World's Gym, Globo Gym. Right. And so I did. So I worked in the industry purposely to be, a spy behind enemy lines, if you will, for over 2 years. And I did really well. I kicked ass. I found my niche there. Like, again, I like being in control of things. I quickly rose that ladder. I got recruited and moved out to Charlotte, North Carolina to oversee 3 different clubs. And things were going really well, but I always knew I was going to open my own thing. So I ended up leaving my corporate Globo Gym job, and by leaving I mean I got fired because they found out I had started a side business. I had started a mobile personal training business on the side. So I had my 40-hour a week corporate Globo Gym job, traveling around to different clubs and running their personal training departments, and then I started this thing called ESC Mobile Fitness. I would partner with apartment complexes, and I worked that thing up to 7 coaches. And after taxes and payout, my net profit after that was probably around $7,000 a month for my side hustle. And that, like, I was living life. And at my age and like the shit I was doing back then, partying and all that, like there was more money than I should have been making, right? And I didn't spend it. I was not very smart with my money. But after I got fired for the non-compete to me doing this thing, I was like, fuck it. All right, I'm going to go start. So I knew the mobile personal training thing was not a long-term solution, so I broke it. I took everyone from mobile personal training to group in a park. And from group in a park, we did that for 5 or so months. And then we went to our first brick and mortar, which was about 1,800 square feet of gym space.
Nice. I like that. So what were some of the things that you learned in the Globo Gym environment that really carried over and helps you as you built out your actual space?
People aren't interested in fitness. People don't buy fitness. I don't believe in it. I don't believe anyone is truly seeking fitness. I don't think we're truly selling fitness. And again, I could like be like, we're selling experience, and this isn't the fitness industry. It's the people industry and all that kind of pie in the sky kind of stuff. What I found in the Globo Gym industry was more cold. It was more calculated than the CrossFit industry. I found in the Globo Gym industry the true depth and breadth of sales, firing people, hiring people, how to tell someone that this green smiley kid who just got his certification and wants nothing more than to coach in the world to, sorry pal, you're not going to be thug enough for this job. You're not going to be able to do 60 consultations every 2 weeks and close 70% of them. You're gone. Like, I got cold in the Globo gym industry to a good degree. I mean, it wasn't an asshole, but I learned the stuff that a lot of CrossFit gym owners don't have, because everyone in the CrossFit gym world that has never stepped outside, they were a client turned coach, and then they opened their own gym, has got this organic, everyone's got their dicks wrapped around each other, and we're going to hug each other, and everything's going to be honky-dory, and oh, my one coach left, I hate you. Oh, and this client's leaving me, fuck them. Like, that was one thing they really instilled with me, is that business is business. I don't have these, I'm going to call them immature emotional feelings that I feel like a lot of gym owners have. And I don't mean immature in like an MTV kind of way. I mean immature in an experience way. Everyone bitches about their first couple clients leaving, and then they get 7 years into it, and they're like, oh shit, well, I'm going to have 70 people this year cancel. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to sell new people. Like, but what I did learn was PT first. PT first at the Globo gym was everything. The average Globo gym, 40% of their monthly recurring revenue was done from personal training, not from the $30 a month membership. So that was something to me that really hit. And you saw this too. You saw the gold rush of people that ran towards group fitness back in those days for CrossFit. This is like 2008 through 2013. And I knew in a gold rush, nobody rushing for gold makes fucking money. You know who makes money? The guy sitting there selling picks and shovels and axes and things like that. So I knew this personal training thing was going to work on my end, whether I teach it to other gym owners or for my own business. And that's probably the biggest thing I can say I took away from the Globo gym scene. It made me a little more cold and calculated and business responsible, less emotional in everything, and I really learned how to sell and the value of PT first.
I think that's huge. To the first point, sales, it's one of those things that a lot of business owners think is a dirty word, but in reality, what you're doing is you're getting people to actually buy your services so you can stay open, and you have to learn. Go ahead.
You know what? I think that's something that a lot of people like to hide behind. When I hear this, like, oh, sales is a dirty word, what I hear when someone says that is, I'm afraid to ask for money. It's not that they really think it's dirty or like it's unethical or anything like that, or, oh, I don't want to be a used car salesman. I think they get what they need to do. I think it's they don't know how, and they're afraid to say that, or they don't believe in their value. And I'm going to make a statement here, and I don't know how much of your audience are gym owners or coaches. A lot of you guys were dentists 2 years ago, and then you went and got a level 1 certification. Now you call yourself a fitness professional. You're full of fucking shit. You're not. You're on your way to it. Like, I've made a ton of content on this. Like, I understand why you're scared to sell. I would be afraid to ask for $1,000 personal training package if I literally 9 months ago, I was working at Bank of America. And then all of a sudden I had a life-changing transformation, and I jumped on the CrossFit wagon, and now I've got a certification. You're not a fitness professional. You are faking it, and eventually you're going to make it. And you can still sell when you fake it. But it's a confidence thing. I think people truly understand they might be full of shit when they're selling these solutions. I have gym owners like, you see this in these CrossFit affiliate owners boards, Chandler. Like, how do you guys structure your nutrition? It's like, what are you asking me for? That would be like a dentist being like, how many molars are there in a mouth? You'd be like, asshole, you should know that. You're a dentist. So I think when people tell us that sales is a dirty word, that's like the easy way out than saying like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm afraid to charge the money. That's honestly what I think when I hear that stuff.
And I think that's true. And when you say that you don't like something or that it's dirty or sleazy or anything like that, what you're really doing is you're manifesting your fears outwardly and trying to rationalize those fears as something that you can use as a rationalizing aspect to say that I'm not doing it because of this, and this makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah, you hide behind the ethics of, sales is dirty. Like, no, it's a dirty word. Like, no, it's not. You're just afraid to, which is fine. Dude, you should have seen me my first consultation. They threw me to the wolves because at Globo Gym, you don't get clients. You go and acquire via what we call a floor pull, meaning my first day on the job, okay, so I was a trainer. They're like, I was like, so do you guys have like a book of clients for me? Or like, no, asshole, you're going to go on the floor and do floor pulls. They would show me what a floor pull was. That's where you just walk up to someone who looks like they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and you say, hey, Sally, and you have to back, this is iPod days, kids, iPods, right? It's kind of like when we had iPhones and an iPod. You had two different devices, and you would have to go and get someone to take, their headphones out of the, listening to their iPod and interrupt them and then convince them, hey, Sally, I see you're doing this thing. Can I show you a better way to do that? Or can I show you a more efficient solution? And then I'd have to pitch them on doing a consultation with me. And like, you learned how to eat shit and just grind for that money. Like, you had nothing. And that was just something that in sales, it's not that it's dirty. It just, I don't care if you're a waitress at Denny's working for tips. I don't care if you are a pizza delivery guy or an Uber driver today, a gym owner, or you're a hooker on the corner. We are all in sales. All we're doing is showing the value of what it is we know. And I just think the people that hide behind that ethics thing just truly don't think they know enough. And they might be right.
Exactly. And they probably don't have enough confidence in themselves to be able to display that value. And I think fundamentally it's the fear that, I'm going to get rejected. And you shouldn't be afraid of getting rejected. You should be afraid of closing your doors because you never did have the opportunity to get rejected. You were too timid, too afraid, and you held back and you thought that if you build it, they will come, which was maybe worked 5 years ago, but it doesn't work anymore. Now you have to find them. And like you're saying, you have to go out and human hunt. So how do I go into coffee shops, pull people out and convince them to do consultations with me, make partnerships with other businesses around? How do I go in Home Depot and pull 12 people out? If you're good at these kinds of things and you don't fear that rejection and you don't fear someone saying I'm not interested and you just go for it, you end up doing a lot better and you get better at your craft along the way. You can look back and say, how could I have approached that better? What could I have said differently? How could I have talked to that person in a different way? What could I have said that they would have wanted to work with me? And were they even the right person I approached?
And I'm a big fan of and anyone listening, again, so many of you guys, you've got the right intentions, and I don't want to shit on anyone's he literally just called me out because I was working at Bank of America. You still, that's fine. You're going to fake it till you make it. It's okay. That doesn't mean you need to fold it in or you're like a hack. That's not what I'm saying. I do want to give everyone a tactical piece of advice. I really don't like giving, saying statements like that without really giving something for you literally to go do. Start with this. In a sales progression, one of the things I do with gym owners and coaches when they're really having a hard time with sales, put 10 to 15 business cards in your pocket every day. Don't go home until you've handed them all out. That is something I stole from Skip Chase. I believe Mount Baker CrossFit. He made a video on the journal back in 2006, and he talked about how he would go home. He would put those business cards in his pockets. He wouldn't go home until he handed them all out. Because when you're a trainer with no clients, you have nothing but time. Spend it trying to acquire clients. That is just a quick tidbit because it forces you to have awkward conversations with strangers, which, by the way, is what sales is.
That's right. I remember back in the day when we were first developing some stuff like this, and we made cards that said you got a free intro. Then we made cards that said you got $70 off a session, and we'd go out and put them in gas pumps. We'd start thinking about where are people actually going to be looking, and where can I put these cards, and how can I not only just get them in their hands, but put them in situations and places to where they're going to see it and actually maybe pick it up. And so we were putting them inside the card holders and gas pumps, putting them inside of gas tanks. It didn't matter, on top of windshields, handing it to people. And we learned from it. We learned some people actually did respond to that. Some people didn't, but it got us out there and it got us into the concept of human hunting. You're going out in there and you're hunting for humans who might be a good fit for what you do at some point. And if you never do that, then you miss out on a huge piece of your opportunity to build and grow.
And another, and I'm pretty sure this is Skip Chase. I hope I'm giving him, this is his thing I'm giving him credit for, but he would tell me, or I heard a video, I believe, with him where he said, I just went to the closest hair salon. And for any of you guys really struggling for sales, do this. Go to the closest hair salon and walk in there and talk to the manager, the owner, whoever the top stylist is, and say, listen, I'm opening up, I'm brand new, I'm looking to acquire a reputation, blah, blah, blah. I'm willing to train your stylist for free. They can come train in my gym for free. All I ask in return is that I can put this flyer and these business cards on the table in front of the chair. Because when my wife owns a salon, right? When your client sits in a chair, you literally sit there and there's normally a counter in front of you with a mirror. You stare at that counter the entire time you're there. You stare at it. And nowadays you have your phone, but it's a lot harder in the salon industry because you can't just be looking down at your phone. So you would have this flyer and these business cards there. And if you trained all these salon stylists, let's say there's 20, they're not all going to show up, but let's say 4 show up and they're talking about how sore they are and they're holding the hairdryer up and all. That is a way for you when you're busted broke, give it away for free in the beginning. Give it for access to a larger clientele. I don't see there's any shame in that. And that was something we did in the beginning. We would go to hair salons and things like that. People that would just be, and again, that's all you do is talk to each other for 45 minutes to 3 hours at a hair salon. And our gym, my training would pop up in that conversation at some point. And that was a really good hack and something that I remember to this day hearing that in that Skip Chase video and being like, fuck yeah, this old fucker's onto something. I'm going to go do this right now.
Exactly. And you're building yourself a referral culture out of that. You get a couple people who are essentially influencers, they hairstylists, talking about your service and having the flyer up, and now you've got someone who's going to tell 10, 20, 30 people a day about what you're doing, and those people are going to they trust them already, so they're going to go see you because now you're the thing that's associated with that thing.
Another angle that I've had a lot of success with, I've had gyms posting this up on social. There's one gym that did it. It wasn't even my idea, but I saw it, I identified with it. I threw it out there to a bunch of gyms, like, do what these guys are doing. I can't remember the name. They're definitely Australia, I want to say, or New Zealand. They went to a local coffee company, most popular coffee company in town, and said, hey, and not a Starbucks, but as a local mom and pop shop, and said, hey, I'll buy all the cardboard sleeves for your cups and the lids for the next 6 months. What is your expense? I'll buy them all. All I want is to be able to put a stamp, my logo on it, on the back, say redeem for a free class or a console or whatever for the next 6 months. And they're like, yeah, sure. And the expense was $350 or $400 or some whatever the bullshit was. But coffee companies, like people who buy coffee, like that was a great place to put your logo. Like that is a very smart idea. Like that is something for over 6 months of advertising. That's a really good spend. Like that would be, for me, that would be 3 weeks in Facebook, like in Facebook ad spend. Like, so it's little things like that. Like, as you mentioned, where are the eyeballs? Where are people going to see? Just start thinking of places like that. You know what a small mom and pop coffee shop would love to have? Lower overhead, because you bought all the plastic or the cardboard sleeves and the cups and the lids. So it's little creative things like that just always kind of, get me going. And I think back to the early grassroots days when I started this thing up.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And those are things that we overlook. It's how can I get myself in front of the eyeballs around town, and how can I get other business owners involved in it? So the coffee shop, they make the best cold brew in town. So maybe I ask them to tap a keg of cold brew. We put it in the gym, and then they hand a free intro card to all of their clients for a month or something like that. Now you've got a biz dev strategy set up. So we're mutualistic, and we're going to work together, and everybody's doing better because of it. So the other concept that I think was really good is the PT first concept. And we've been doing PT first since, I think, the beginning when we opened, when everybody said it was stupid and no one would pay for it. And everybody does because they appreciate it and like the idea. But it puts you in two strategies. Number one, it gives you a revenue stream for your business that's going to be an extremely profitable and high-end revenue stream. And then number two, it's going to prepare people safely for what they're going to experience down the road. And then I guess number three, now that I'm thinking about it, it's a retention strategy. So PT first equals high retention long-term because you've developed such a strong relationship with those coaches or those athletes or those clients, whatever you call them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I used to, when I would throw the PT first thing around, obviously like the Mad Labs, obviously like I know that's the thing, you guys, that's one of the biggest things. That's without even ever knowing Craig, but knowing his videos from early back in the day and knowing what you guys stand for in the Mad Labs community and all that stuff, like that was something I always respected, and even from afar was like, cool, I bet you, I'd get along with those guys. They've got similar values. PT first for me was always, and again, I'm not a CrossFit affiliate, but we rebranded and we restructured, and we don't have a CrossFit model. I don't associate myself with CrossFit. We don't call ourselves CrossFit, none of that stuff. But in a CrossFit gym, which I'm assuming is probably a decent amount of the listeners and the people you have on here, it makes sense. Like, I just don't like, it's just that, like, really, you're going to take someone who's 40 pounds overweight and is like 37 years old and has never touched a barbell before, and you think they're going to learn how to do an Olympic lift, like the snatch in a 15-person class? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like, who do you think you are? Like, you're a Chuck Carswell level 17 coach. Like, you're this amazing motherfucker that's just going to magically, like, oh, I've got this instant cue that's going to give Johnny a muscle up with 15 other fuckfaces around that can't even do ring route. Like, I just never understood that mantra. And we forced it too. Like, in my early days, we tried forcing it, and we switched really early. Like, we really went away from it starting in 2014. And, but yeah, the PT first thing you mentioned, profit margin, right? I tell people brick and mortar fitness, you're looking at a 30% profit margin I'd be very happy with 30% profit margin, brick and mortar. So at a PT first margin, I like to tell my guys, like, still, you're going to maintain a 30% margin on that, right? Like, very much like profit first model, aka Cooper's 4-9s model, 45% to the coach, or however you do it. If you have a performance-based compensation structure, whatever you do with your PT first, however you structure it, it will be an additional revenue stream. And everyone for years, Chandler, would argue, and not even years, let's call it, like, honestly, like the past year and a half, 2 years, would argue, well, I know other micro gym models that do group only. And I'm like, great, who? And I would get Kalipas We get NC Fit as an example. And then lo and behold, Jason goes on Instagram, and I had it saved on my phone. We made content with it. It was awesome. Jason goes on, and someone asked him in an AMA, ask me anything. How are you guys onboarding clients? He goes, well, we're really pushing for PT now in the beginning. and again, it's because not even that, no one's model is impervious to a singular revenue stream. Me and Craig, when I had him on my podcast, we were talking about yoga studios have the biggest opportunity to make that happen. The biggest opportunity.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Now, again, most of them are too space constricted. They don't have a side small studio to do one-on-ones while the busiest class times are going. I think that's the biggest issue most yoga studios are. But if they do, there's a huge opportunity present, right? So, but yeah, those are the things, when someone is still arguing it, I believe a few things. I believe that in a 5-year window, people will be looking at PT first. Of course I require PT first at the onset of membership. Just like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, there were gyms that were like, yeah, I kind of got a Facebook page. Now everyone knows they live and die by their Facebook business page, right? Their Instagram. So it just, again, as the micro gym market, which is very young, continues to mature, things like that, I think, will just naturally become commonplace. And then guys like you and me can look back and be like, told you fuckers.
Yeah, we'd be like, well, see, we've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as the sales thing. That it's the fear that people won't purchase their services, or that the other gym down the street isn't charging the same or is charging 13 times less. And it's like, you know what? People buy based on perceived need and your ability to showcase that perceived need. People go out and buy Coach purses on a credit card because they want that status symbol. People will buy your services because you've developed the need in their mind that they want it, they need it, and they have to have it from you. And so I think that's huge in developing what you're doing. It's not what everyone around you is doing. It's what you can build in that model yourself. So do people actually care about you, and have you developed yourself in a way to where you are differentiated? Because everybody always says, charge more. And then you look at it and you're like, well, can you charge more? What are you even doing that's different? Have you created a level 12 service, or are you just saying charge more to say charge more because everyone's saying it?
I think one thing a lot of people, like you mentioned there, it's a status thing, like the Coach purse. And one thing I'll say to that is the majority of micro gyms around will never, ever, 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 and I'm sorry to shit on your dreams here, but you will never create a brand so powerful, like, I'm going to use SoulCycle as an example, so powerful that 1 in 3 in your hood have heard of you. 1 in 5. The average micro gym would be lucky if 1 in 20 or 1 in 50 in their entire town, let's say there's 45,000 people, 70,000 people, have heard of that brand of gym. It's just not realistic because there's just so many. Again, how many SoulCycles are there? There's one. And why is SoulCycle the largest spin studio brand in the world, the most successful spin studio brand in the world? Again, did they show up early? Did they just show up right? Did they just do something different? Is it because Equinox dumped 20 million into it? Is it because, like, whatever? I don't know what the answer, like, again, it's a gazillion different things. But when people, like, when gyms are like, well, we want you to do PT first because then you're going to have a stat. You got to set your brand apart. I would tell people just math. Like, why should you do PT first? Before I even go to the branding thing, which I would also go to at some point, I would just say it's math. Like, give me an Excel sheet in 20 minutes of your time, and I'll show you the chart. I'll show you the numbers. That singular revenue stream will not create a 6-figure income for an owner, a strong 5-figure income for a GM, a solid 5-figure income for a coach. Like, it doesn't exist. Like, I just show it to you on math. That way we're not arguing about anything subjective. It's numbers. And, if you give me enough time, it's what I call the come to Jesus calculator. I'll ask a gym owner, how much money you want to make? And he'd be like, I'll get like a 6-figure answer. Let's just say, $100,000. Cool. What, a 30% profit margin, you'd have to make $360,000 in a year. That is $33,000 a month. And then I break down their ACV or whatever the fuck they're doing, and then that's my come to Jesus calculator, and that's when they shit their pants. I'm like, okay, so are you ready to talk about adding another revenue stream yet, or are we good, or what are we doing here? Are you just going to 6-week challenge it, or what? Like, and that's kind of, it's just math to me. It's just very simple. Things that, like, you and me could talk brand at a high level, and people might bite or they might not. One thing that anyone that owns a gym and listening to can't argue with, math. It's simple.
Exactly. It's numbers. Numbers when you show people numbers, it makes sense in their brain because they can actually see it, and it's not subjective or high level or an overview. This is literally where you're going to be at if you stay on this route. This is where you could be at if you move over to this route. So if you have one stream, here it is. If you have two streams, here it is. And then they can actually see it, and they can say, this is a come to Jesus moment. So now maybe I should change. Maybe I should fix and adjust myself. And I think even to the topic of branding, I always hear people talk about like, you're either direct marketing or you're branding. But then when you look at it in practice, Orange Theory Fitness, for example, they have huge high-level overview branding campaigns. But then when they open a studio, it's 100% direct marketing hitting that place, so they get 400, 500, 600 members when they join. So to me, it's a combination. You have to be able to be directly out there, but you also have to be able to build that awareness. But in the micro gym world, you do not have the capabilities that someone with funding from a hedge fund does, or funding from a VC does, like Orange Theory or Soul Cycle or any of those guys.
I want to make sure I'm not going to quote the individual, but a local franchisee for Orange Theory told me that their marketing budget for oranges like the fruit that you eat, for their pre-opening over the course of 6 months was over $5,000. They went ahead and they got an orange basket, put a basket of oranges in an orange basket, and inside that orange basket was also passes to come in and for promotional pricing for their pre-opening. And they had a marketing budget of over $5,000 for oranges. But think of what else do gyms walk in with? They walk in with paper that says try me, buy me, consult this, buy one get 1 week free. Again, that's what when you pay a marketing firm over $1 million to come up with really good ideas, they come up with this. We'll go ahead and give a basket of oranges. What office is going to throw away a basket of oranges? What office complex is going to? No one. But if you walk in with a bunch of your pieces of paper that you printed off from Kinko's 2 hours prior, that shit's going in the trash, motherfucker. Guaranteed. A couple people might grab it, but it's going in the fucking trash. Think it's things like that. Like when I tell gym owners, I'm like, don't try to compete with Orange Theory. You're going to lose. You're done. You're fucking done. Yeah, like every day of the week, but learn from them, steal from them. I'm prepping for this. I made a video. It's going to go up on the 321 Go, their growth summit. And I'm literally my entire thing is about stealing other people's marketing ideas, the ones that work. And how could you make that work for your brand? And I look at something like what Orange Theory has done. And by the way, I love patting myself on the back because I was a part of the CrossFit growth, and I'm an affiliate and I'm a proud affiliate. I don't know. That's kind of fucked up to say since I don't use the word, but whatever. I'm a proud affiliate and I pay my dues. Fuck you guys. And CrossFit has been outgrown by Orange Theory.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. Over 1,000 gyms in less than 8 years at a $350,000 buy-in versus 15,000 gyms in 10 years at a $3,000 buy-in. It's really interesting. I've got these different white space theories and why I think the market's doing its thing and all that stuff. But the one thing I'd tell you guys is from a marketing and branding perspective, you got to think beyond, like, again, we don't even have to get into the whole 6-week challenge thing or anything like that, but you've got to be thinking in a more leverageable term. I guarantee you if you and me, Chandler, walked into a room of gym owners and said, hey, how would you guys market? Nobody would come up with anything that even looked, smelled, or tasted like a basket of oranges.
No, absolutely not. They'd say, well, I would run a Facebook ad, or
exactly. Yeah, it would be it would be this. It would be the same direction of the grain that everyone else is going, and that's always where my marketing kind of brain has gone elsewhere. In young markets like Charlotte, North Carolina is a very young market. Austin, Texas is a very young market. Burbs in Chicago that have high multifamily, so apartment complexes. I would tell people if you got a great summer scene and you have a really good young apartment complex, young professional vibe, go to every local apartment complex and tell them you're going to sponsor a summer pool party. Pool party is sponsored by, like, my business, Urban MVMT. We're going to hire a DJ, which when you book him for 10 gigs in the summer, you could probably get him for $175 to $200 a pop. And you're going to go on Alibaba Express and buy 10,000 beer pong balls, a bunch of pool floats, all this shit. Get your logo put on it. All in, you're probably talking like $4,000 all in. Sponsor 10 to 15 different pool parties. In a 2018 world, when you sponsor these pool parties, and they are awesome, people have a great time, and you have a table and whatever, and it's not about the table, like nobody drinking is going to come and sign up for a consultation, But every Snapchat, every Instagram story, and Facebook post will be people with your pool float that says Urban Movement on it, right? It'll be your fucking inflatable beer pong table with the cups that say Urban Movement on, the beer pong, like in the background of everything. One different apartment complex every weekend for the 12 weeks in summer. That to me is kind of outside the box thinking, and that's, I don't know, that's just where I want more guys putting their head and their time and their effort at, because I don't know, it's always the stuff that no one's tried that has the highest probability of potentially shaking things up and actually working.
Exactly. And what you're doing is you're ultimately making people feel good and have a good experience, and people always remember how you made them feel, so they come back to that. And they made me feel fun. They were cool.
Yeah.
And we started events back in the day where it was, we sponsored Pizza Friday somewhere, we sponsored Taco Tuesday somewhere, and it had nothing to do with health and fitness, but it was just a blast. Everybody loves pizza, taco, and everybody loves drinking beers with both, and it sends them right back. Well, you know what? I need to go see those guys because they have a lot of fun. They sponsored pizza and tacos, and so they might not just be crazy people with nipple tanks slamming barbells against the wall. They might be actually fun.
When was the last time you were in Vegas? You guys go out there for like your summit every now and then, right? Weren't you in Vegas recently?
I think, last time I was there was about 6 months ago, probably.
Think about Vegas. Every time you get into a cab, Chandler, what is on the back seat of the cab? It's generally a video for one of the hotels or the casinos. There's advertisements. Could you not infiltrate, like there's Facebook groups. Every local city has a private Uber Facebook group. Find someone who's an Uber driver, get you into the Facebook group, and tell Uber drivers that are in, again, these are like young professionals, I guess any city, hey, we're a local gym. We're willing to pay you X amount of money if we can put some advertising inside your Uber. Maybe it's bottles of water that sit in the back with your logo on it, right? Maybe it's something that actually sits over the back headrest and like folds in front. So when people are sitting in the back of the Uber, it's in front of them. Take one for a free class. Like, is there not something we could creatively, like people could think differently than telling me how to run a re-engagement campaign, which by the way, we do. They work great. I get it. I know it's tried and true. I've just always been more interested in the shit that no one's doing.
Exactly. And it goes back to like the iconic Apple days. Their original campaign was Think Different, and they blew everything out of the water with it. So it's this kind of thinking where you say, okay, where's the box? How do I step on the box, throw it in the trash, and completely go outside of it and do something no one else is doing that's that's radical almost, and then people see it and they're like, huh, I need to be part of that. That looks pretty neat because I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, one of our core values at Urban Movement, we out of the 5, one of them is to be bold. And to be bold, what we mean is we're constantly thinking outside the box. If you look at our logo has an incomplete box attached to it. And that came from when I was stepping away from what I've known for such a long time, which is the affiliate model, the CrossFit model, the box. And that there's obviously some symbolism attached to that, but I don't know, man. Whenever I just see the same thing being done over and over again, I instantly I just run away from. I don't know why. I think it's an inherent thing, and it probably works to a fault. I've invested probably time, money, and energy into things that didn't work because it was an off the wall idea. But I don't know. That's how I'd rather live. That's how the things I'd rather spend my time. It's what the stuff I'd rather fuck with.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of how I am. If someone says, well, you have to do it this way because everybody does it this way, I want to do the complete opposite and try to make something new or create something myself and probably screw some things up. But eventually you do find something that is really neat and that does work really well and that everyone will copy full circle in 2 years. And then you'll be like, huh, it was a good idea. Now everybody's doing it.
Yeah, no, I hear you, brother.
That's exciting. So talk to me about when you kind of changed from the affiliate model to where you're at now. What was that like, and why did you do that?
Yeah, so 2014, I started looking around and I saw the pop of growth, and it was a good time to be an affiliate. And we were doing really well financially. I was almost completely out of the business as far as operationally, like having to be working in the business. 2015 was really when I was set in. I was able to spend extra time, energy, and other things. But here's the thing: is I understand what creates wealth, and I knew I wanted to own commercial real estate in Charlotte. So I put my eyes on that, and I dedicated a large amount of time to investigating, learning, training myself, going to city council meetings, learning about rezonings, learning about land appreciate, like all this. Anyway, so I put my all eggs in that, and I purchased a considerable chunk of land here in the metropolitan area of Charlotte, and I have an idea, a concept of something I want to create, something I'd never seen before. With that, I knew I wanted to break the I didn't want to break CrossFit's rules. I just wanted to make my own. Right, I was just tired of being a CrossFit affiliate. I hosted level 1s, level 2s, specialty certs, and all these guys would come in. Like, if I walked in any CrossFit gym, I could close my eyes if I were blind and tell you what I could see. Oh, there's going to be a rogue banner hanging up, and there's going to be some military flags, even though less than 10% of the gym membership is fucking military. And there's going to be a whiteboard that has 30-day goals on it that haven't been updated in 6 months. And there's going to be a cubby where people leave their weightlifting shoes and a fucking gym dog. I just was so sick and tired of being associated with what I considered was, again, the grain going the same direction. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Any of you guys listening, I'm not bashing your model. I'm just saying it wasn't for me. So I came up with this idea in my head, and it slowly evolved over time. And we started moving. I started getting, like, in 2014, we got rid of the Olympic weightlifting in group classes. We started separating. Right? Like, we had like different classes based on different desires that we were learning from our members. We got rid of the scoreboard and the leaderboard and the RX and all that bullshit. We got rid of advanced movements and keeping things a little more simple. And then as it evolved, I really started looking at models like Metabolic and Alchemy and, even once Orange Theory came on the scene, looking what they're doing and looking at the utilization of square footage in a gym space and how CrossFit just gets an F plus in their operational capacity and utilization of square footage. And so as I was designing my new building, once we bought that, that's when I started thinking of a new model. I really believe in the third place. And so we created something that is, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I can stand on this and say, for the most part, we're probably one of the only facilities east of the Mississippi, and it's just my realm, like whatever, that someone can say, I go there to work and work out. Think of like a co-op working space, a full service coffee company, like full service. I'm talking a 2,000 square foot coffee company, full coffee space, Wi-Fi, lounge, all that. And then there's a 7,000 square foot gym, completely separated, soundproofed out on the other side of the building. And then we sublease 500 square feet to my wife's spin studio. And I created this thing because I'm playing with this idea that in Charlotte, North Carolina, especially where companies like WeWork, if those of you guys aren't familiar, WeWork is a very successful co-op working space, is very expensive. We have 4 different co-op working spaces in Charlotte, and they're all at 90-some% occupancy all the time. 95, 96. So mine is free. It's just open like a Starbucks, but without being douchey like a Starbucks. And it's the only place where people can come, work, and then work out. Take a shower in a private shower, not a fucking community locker room looking at some 60-year-old guy's balls kind of shower. Like your own private shower with towel service and disposable bags and a bunch of, pussy amenities. And all the things that really but do help. And yeah, it was just this cleaner, more polished, refined thing that I wanted to create, and it's working so far. I don't know if I nailed it. I think there's plenty to still fix, but that is the model in what we created.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And you look at the way the people are moving to, and the way they work today is remote work is becoming a lot more popular, or work at home environments, or work even quasi, like half in the office and then half at home. And that's when these co-working spaces become incredibly popular. And then you get people out of their element and into another element like the gym, and it gives them the opportunity to not only work, but work out like you're saying. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty cool concept. And I think it's future-proofing yourself and being prepared for what is going to happen in the future.
When I heard Glassman talk about the phenomenon, the human phenomenon of someone working in a group setting, right? Always wanting to give more of yourself in the presence of others. You see that same thing at Starbucks. One guy in the corner is writing his blog. Another guy's reading a paper. Someone else is studying for the LSAT. But they're all working, and they feel the pressure to continue being productive because other people are being productive. And that is a true thing. If you've ever sat in a Starbucks, a coffee shop, a co-op working space, you feel social pressure to get it done, or to do it well, or to be productive, or at least appear productive, because you're in that setting, just like you do on the training floor. And it is that human phenomenon that I saw, and I saw community. I saw a community. I will see people come into South End Grind, which is, I don't own the coffee shop. I sublease to it. Come into South End Grind's coffee shop, and two people will be on opposite ends of the lounge, and one guy drops a pen. Or maybe and he doesn't notice that he dropped his pen. Someone from the other side of the lounge will come up and pick it up and hand it to him, and they'll engage in a conversation. Why? Because they're in the same place, and it says, you're like me. You're here working on something too. What are you working on? Awesome. Do you come here often? Blah, blah, blah. What coffee do you drink? And you see a conversation start. And if you notice everything I'm talking about, I'm not talking about acquiring any of these people for membership. I don't care if they ever join the gym. I don't give two fucks. I'm trying to create something that doesn't, like, again, like my model is more of a rent roll model, kind of based financially, but like trying to create something that goes beyond a gym membership that doesn't need, the highs and lows of gym membership do not affect us anymore. Let me put it that way. I'm no longer prisoner to how many memberships we sell. And that was the nice thing with purchasing the real estate. But it just becomes one of these things where I just looked at a coffee shop. I'm like, these guys are doing the same thing that the gym is doing. Like I do in my group classes. I think they would work well. But could I have a coffee shop and everyone doing Grace and Diane? On the other side of the wall, there's no level of soundproofing or vibration proofing that would work. That's why we changed everything about the way we do it. That's why people don't walk in anymore and think CrossFit gym right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's huge, because I think that's a pretty important comment there as well, because a lot of people think changing your name is changing your brand, but it's changing your name, it's changing your brand feel, it's changing how it feels inside and outside the brand, and it's changing the entire dynamic to actually be its own thing and not just a copy with another name.
I would tell people this, for the gym owners that think they've done a brand change, number one, so I knew I had really started rebranding when we started getting cancellations. And we require everyone to submit a 30-day cancellation. They must require a form. There's only 5 reasons anybody cancels a gym, and they have to select one of those 5. And they started listing, when they start putting it in there, it's no longer CrossFit. When people were telling me they were canceling because it was no longer CrossFit, I was like, yes, it's working. I'm onto something. Because in the very beginning, Chandler, when I first opened up, man, like I still had CrossFit notes attached to it. And when I mean notes, I mean like I had members who still, they looked like they were still doing the CrossFit thing and they were doing open gym. Like I still had CrossFit elements. So people would come in and like, oh, it's just a really nice CrossFit gym. That was not good enough for me. That's not what I want. That's not what I envisioned. So that was really awesome to start hearing people say, when they canceled, it's not CrossFit enough. I was like, yes, that's when I knew I was actually rebranding. When the organization changes structurally and fundamentally so that current customers no longer align themselves because you've changed your core values or your core focus or your niche, that is a true rebranding in my position. You can have like a new unveiling of a new logo and things like that, but a true rebranding, I believe you change yourself at almost the DNA level of an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to have a new look, a new feel, a new vibe, and people have to walk in and be like, "Wow, this is something I've never seen before. I've never experienced before." It's not like I'm walking. And they won't.
Your current customers might not like it. This has been my highest year. 2018 was my highest year of attrition in my entire career doing this. I've never lost so many members than this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's because people don't like change, and when you change what they originally intended to sign up for, they don't like it and they want to leave to find something that is similar. And it's a natural part of what's happening. I have to be ready for this. I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to drive in the people that I do want in the future. So I think this has been a pretty exciting little talk we had here.
Yeah, man, this was great.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So, and if anybody wants to get more info from you or talk to you more or get more ideas from you, how can they do that?
Yeah. I mean, you guys can reach out, look up at WTF Gym Talk. I'm constantly just swearing on the internet and occasionally giving some decent business advice. And if you're ever interested in looking up Urban Movement, if you're ever in Charlotte and you want to stop by, grab a cup of coffee, it's on me. We can hang out and jam in the lounge. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Look up Urban Movement. Just take all the vowels out of movement. They cost extra, so I omitted them from the name. And you'll find us just fine.
Perfect. Thanks again for jumping on, and I think this is pretty cool. I think there's a lot of nuggets of value out of here. If you get lost in trying to find Stu, I'll post it in the show notes as well, so that way you can just click on it. It makes it super easy, so you don't even have to think about vowels.
Awesome.
And that's all she wrote. Thanks again, Stu.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. See ya.